Hey, I'm Avalaura.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Black Leave America podcast, where we highlight holistic wellness, travel, mental health, and self-care through traveling outside of America to reconnect and rediscover who you are. It's time for us to leave any condition that disrupts our peace. Black Women Leave America opens your eyes and explores new ways of living, but more importantly, new ways of being. Because sometimes you have to leave in order to find yourself. Sometimes you have to leave in order to find yourself. This is Black Women Leave America podcast. And today we have a phenomenal guest, Ms. Natisha Willis. And she's going to tell you all about her story, but I'm going to give you a little bit tidbit first. She was laid off from her 10-year career in higher education. And with 6 months of unemployment and a student loan check in the bank, Natisha packed her bags and relocated to Playa del Carmen, Mexico. So we're looking forward to hearing all about her journey. Natisha, welcome to Black Women Leave America. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Okay, sure. Well, as you mentioned, I came from higher education. That's kind of where I feel like I found my purpose, where my desire for helping other people. I have a background in corporate accounting, which is kind of funny. That I left and went into higher ed and became an academic advisor. And so working with adult students, primarily, I started out working with adult students at an online university. And that's where I was introduced, I think, to the formal aspect of coaching. Mm-hmm. And at that online university, we had a student success coaching department. And it was great. I had students all over the world who were primarily first generation students, mostly in their late 30s, upper 40s, who were looking to change careers, or in a lot of times just get their first degree. And so from there, I moved to a graduate school. So at that time, I was working with undergraduate students, and I moved on to work with graduate students at a acupuncture school. So I worked with alternative health students. They were getting master's and doctoral degrees in acupuncture, herbalism, yoga therapy, health and wellness coaching. And so in 2018, after about 3.5 years there, I was laid off. And I guess one of the things that I should mention is during those 3.5 years, I invested in a lot of marketing programs, marketing trainings, high-level masterminds, because my intention was that my full-time job was ultimately to become my side job.
Okay.
So I self-published a book. I did a 3-city book tour. I launched an online coaching campaign called the Coach Your Damn Self Challenge. And I tested around, played around with Facebook advertising, hired a Facebook ad strategist, had about 2,000 women sign up for that challenge. And so while I was working full time, I was investing in my knowledge as it related to having an online business. And so my intention was to make my full-time job my side job and eventually transition out. Mm-hmm. Well, at the end of maybe 2017, I burned out. And I realized that I was doing way too much for other people and not enough for myself. So I started working out, created what I felt like the only thing that was keeping me from leaving my job was a morning routine. So I started a routine, started working out, and literally 90 days later, I was laid off. So I took that as a green light. I said the only thing I needed was a routine. So, I took that as a green light. I said, okay, well, I'm getting laid off. I'm out.
Basically.
So I took the unemployment, came to Mexico. As you mentioned, I was taking graduate courses at the time. So I had some of my refund check in the bank, as well as, like you said, the 6 months of unemployment coming. Mm-hmm. And so I came to Mexico, Playa del Carmen, because I saw it on somebody's shirt at the gym.
I was about to say, why Mexico?
So in my mind, right, I had it that it was either Mexico, Bali, or Thailand, right? For some reason in the travel spaces, like these are the places that I often had heard about. Mexico, because I had taken Spanish in high school and college. And so, as well as several members of my family suffer from dementia. And so in my mind, if I learn another language, then I can keep myself mentally and healthy in that way.
So very strategic, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Bali and Thailand, because the cost of living is so low. So in my mind, you know, again, I come from the internet marketing space. I'm a coach. I love life coaching and health coaching, but I was basically trained by internet marketers. And in the internet marketer space, I don't know if you've read 4 Hour Work Week.
Yep.
Right. But he talks about earning dollars and living on pesos. Right. So that way, basically every time you every time you earn $1, you're making money. It's
stretches.
Right. So your money goes a lot further. So that was like my thinking. I wasn't sure because I had gotten laid off and it was kind of sudden. Like I said, my business wasn't where I wanted it to be. And so I said, well, if I need to come back to the States, I don't want to be stuck all the way in Asia. So let me, like if things, because you know, business is so volatile, you don't really know, right? Like you can try to put things out there, but you don't know, like you got to tweak messaging, you got to tweak offerings, like, and there's no guarantee for how long it's going to take. So I said, okay, well, Mexico is close. It's still got the language thing. I understand Spanish. You know, let me choose between Mexico City and Playa del Carmen. Why? Because I don't even know why those are the only two cities I actually knew of in Mexico. Of course, besides Cancun, I knew I was
right.
And I didn't do any research. I research honestly a lot. Too much information overwhelms me, and so I said, okay, well, between Mexico City and Playa del Carmen, like, God, let me know. And I went to the gym, and like within 2 days, I saw Playa del Carmen on somebody's shirt, and I was like, oh. All right, well, Playa del Carmen it is.
Wow. So did you like plan to move there? Like, did you get an apartment? Did you do all of that? Or did you go just saying, I'm going to be there for, you know, a month or two and just kind of check it out?
Both. So when I saw Playa del Carmen on the girl's shirt, I started talking to people, like I said, other people who were in the travel space. And so come to find out, there were a couple of people I'd known who were in a mastermind with me like a couple years prior who were also coming to Playa del Carmen. I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, I ain't never even heard of this place. Okay, there's other people I know coming. Okay. And at the time, teal, I had some dark teal glasses. And teal, I took that as my spirit color. Right. I'm not very religious, but I'm like, I just find signs and symbols in everything. Right. I'm like really big on signs and symbols are everywhere. I just need to pay attention to them. And so I went on Airbnb because, again, within the travel space, I don't know if you're in any of the travel Facebook groups, but within them, people will talk about getting an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can get a discount if you stay for a longer amount of time. So I went on Airbnb, which ironically I had already been doing because I thought I was going to Bali, right? So I was using Airbnb kind of as a vision board for me. But I found a teal bedroom and close to what I thought was close to Playa del Carmen, and it was in Cozumel, which is an island, like a ferry ride away.
Okay.
And so I lived in Cozumel for the first 2 months.
Okay.
And because I was coming over to Playa del Carmen so much, I said, well, let me come over here. And so I found an apartment in Playa del Carmen. And I've actually been in that apartment since August of 2018. I'm actually moving out finally to another apartment in 2 weeks. Or next week? Maybe next. I think it's actually next week. I'm moving.
She's like, I don't even know.
I tried, listen, stuff that stressed me out. I'm like, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I know that's right. So speaking of that, like what differences have you noticed, you know, living now in different parts of Mexico versus living in the US?
There are a lot. I think the biggest difference is the fact that I'm actually able to live. right? Like and by live, I mean pause, breathe. When I get off work, I'm off work, right? Like I don't spend a whole lot of time doing overtime or working over my hours, or let me just stay at work. Like, because it's basically 80 degrees all year round, right? Like I recognize for myself, like, whereas I may stay, in the States, I would stay at work longer because it's cold, it's dark, whatever, right? Now it's, let me get outside and enjoy some fresh air. Yeah. Like, I spend a lot more time enjoying life rather than just filling my days with work. So I make it like it's almost like the lifestyle, it's the culture. It's a lot of the culture, right? Because Playa del Carmen is a beach town. And so like right now I'm in a co-working space and I'm about 2 blocks from the beach. So, everybody wear flip-flops every day. I mean, it's like very low key. And I'm from Chicago. So I'm used to, and I'm just used to a different kind of living, right? Where folks dress up, folks wear makeup, folks, like there's just a different standard of what living looks like. Like you need to dress to impress every day, whereas in a beach town, anything goes. Iron, you know what I'm saying? Like just real minimalist enjoyment first. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's really about life and it's not just about working. So there's a lot of pause and free time and, like I said, space to think. Of course, the cost of living, that's always, a thing. Whereas when I lived in the States, it was a problem to eat out for every meal. It was like, ooh, I hope I got enough, whereas here, it's, you always know there's nothing gonna cost you more than $10. Like, meal, drink, you eat till you full.
I want you to talk about that because I remember, and it might have been maybe a year or so ago, you had a post that went viral where you literally talked about the cost of living, and a lot of people were celebrating it, and some people were like hating, like, what are you talking about? It can't be that cheap, probably because they realized they were hustling backwards and didn't want to admit it to themselves. But can you talk about that? Like, what is the cost of living? Like, what did you talk about in that post?
I talked about the fact that I was living off of $400 a week or $1,500 a month. Like for real living, like I wasn't eating ramen. I was
right. She was talking about like massages and haircut, like everything.
Yeah, like, I go to a barber. It's about $7 or $8, $10 with a tip. What else did I mention? When I was getting my nails done, the pedicures, I can give a gel manicure for $250, which is like $12 or $14. So you just need a lot less in order to still maintain the standard of living, right? It's weird because now, I don't get my nails done as much anymore. Like that used to be a thing. Like, oh my God, I can get my nails done for, $12. But it just becomes, I feel like I felt a focus toward really prioritizing and identifying what's really important to me. Like, what do I actually value? Like, what do I actually care about? What do I actually want more of in my life? Rather than you being so busy that you don't have time to think about those kinds of things that are, the things that are actually important for you.
Yeah.
What we're hearing from a lot of the women is like a current theme of once they left, they found out that they got more in tune with the things that matter to them instead of thinking about what other people thought about them, right?
Yeah. And for me, I think it was a lot of, yes, what other people think of me and what was important because of the communities that I was a part of before, right? And so there's a piece of that now being here almost 2 years that is just kind of sloughed off, right? Like in in the States, yes, it's important to keep your hair done and your nails done. And, there's a certain level of upkeep, presentation, if you will, that now being here, yes, it's, right? It's like okay, like how much of this is me and how much of this is, what was given to me or what was accepted. And it's funny because I've noticed a huge question that often comes up is, what's dating like? And the irony is I haven't even looked at, like in the States, that was huge. Like I was always, head on a swivel. Like, let me, keep my eye out for who in here. And I've noticed that just being here, that's just not even a concern. Like I'm not even, and that, I'm sure, I don't know if that's just me, but it's just my focus is definitely pointed inward. And how can I be my best self? And I don't give a shit about these. I mean, men are important, they're vital to society and all these other PC things. But that's just not my priority. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not my interest right now. Like, my number one focus is 100% on how can Natisha be her absolute best self, so that the next time I have a post go viral, right, it's like I don't have to pick apart. Yes, I'm living on $1,500 a month, but that's unemployment. So when people are at, well, how did you do it? Girl, I'm on unemployment. I don't know how. I can't tell you how to get on unemployment. But you know what I'm saying? Like, these are things I don't necessarily have control over. But it's, it's really about the growth, which, during that time, I genuinely forgot about all the things that I did leading up to it. But
that is so, I love that you're saying that, because, and especially with you being there for so long, so you have the time to really think about the growth, kind of where you were when you first got there versus where you are now, and what was important to you then versus what is important to you now. And I think what's so interesting about what you're saying is not just the culture that is a beach town, but like you said, you have the actual space to breathe and to think and to feel and to process and be in the moment, like really actually practice mindfulness that we talk so much about. You have that natural space in order to do it. So we're here when I'm talking to my clients and I'm working with my clients, it's like we have to create mindfulness, right? It's like, take this time out, breathe there. It just sounds like it's just natural. You don't have to create it. You don't have to force it. It's just a part of your life.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, the culture and the society supports it, right? Like in the States, you have to carve out that space. And you're odd, to be honest. If you're mindful in the States, you're an oddity. You're weird. Like that's just not the culture in the States. Whereas here, you looked at crazy if you working past, dark. It's like, why are you still at work? I work in a co-working space, which is beautiful because it's a built-in community. So on Fridays, it's all right, we're going for beers, like you coming to happy hour, like it's we're walking to the bar, we're walking to the restaurant, 2 blocks over. It's it's a different standard of life.
Wow. So while we're talking about that, what I want to know is, like, what are some of the things that you learned about yourself?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that I have thoughts that I didn't even know I had, right? Like, and I think it's more about like the belief system, like the underlying beliefs that I've begun to explore, specifically about how I show up and what I feel I need to do, especially around attempting or growing a coaching business online. Right. When I first got here, like I was posting every day because I was, I was very intentional about that and storytelling, and I was practicing these certain skill sets. And around January of 2019, when I started traveling, I realized I didn't want to post no more. I felt like I was giving everything away. And I felt like I wasn't holding anything for myself. And I wasn't like genuinely pausing, right? Like I wasn't being mindful at that time, because as soon as I experienced something, I was posting it on social in a storytelling manner to, you know, make myself appear in such a way, right? Because that's what you do when you're trying to grow a business online and you're building a personal brand. Like you tell your stories and you talk about your experiences. And I realized I don't want to do that no more. Like,
that's right.
I wanted to have the experience, to reflect on the experience, to, you know, I wanted to get on the phone with people. Like I spoke to some friends, like people who I had genuine relationships with, and they would send me, you know, inboxes about, oh yeah, I saw your post. And I'm like, that mean don't call me? Like, like we don't talk no more.
That's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens.
So it
like
really
you think you're connecting with people and you're really not.
No. And I mean, I started deleting people. I was like, my Facebook personal page no longer felt like this is a community of people who I'm like genuinely connected with, right? Because I'm now having a different experience. So I began feeling like I was in a fishbowl. Everybody was watching me. So I'm like, well, hell, let me watch myself then. Let me find the people that I actually want to connect with, right? Like, let me start making phone calls. Like, who got WhatsApp? Like, let me actually start checking in with people, you know, having like real connections. Because I realized I wasn't having those. It was just everybody was so in awe that I was in another country. And I'm like, okay, but I need some actual friends. This is great. You know, it's awesome to be inspiring.
I love everything
that you're moving into that, because that's exactly what I started talking about. I talked about authentic connection and authentic leadership. What does authentic leadership look like? It means actually connecting with people, actually talking to them, and having that connection and having a relationship.
Yeah, and being a real person, right? Like I think the piece of authenticity that is often missed is I can share my real self with you, but if you're just in awe of me every time I open my mouth, it's not coming back.
That celebrity effect. I'm not even gonna go into the numerous stories I could go into, especially around dating, when a man sees my website. Oh, you've done this. Oh, I'm like, oh Lord, but that's a wrap. I can't go out with you. You done put me on a pedestal. That's a wrap. This is done. Yeah, because now you are not even seeing me anymore. You were seeing that persona on YouTube, the website, whatever show I was on, whatever.
Yeah,
and you're not having a relationship with me.
Yeah, you desire me to be, and not necessarily how I show up. So, and
but you said some really powerful things, because I'm actually literally in that space where, again, saying I'm not even building a business. I've built a business, but in that space of, okay, you need to post on social media every day. And I did that consistently for years. At least, Monday through Friday. I would take off the weekend unless I was inspired to post something. But I made sure that I had content for every single day, sometimes multiple content. And it started last year. I was just like, I don't care anymore. Why do I need to post every day? I'm still getting clients. People know who the hell I am. What am I doing? I stopped. I just said, when I feel like posting something, I will post something. If I don't, I just won't post nothing. And nobody said anything. Nobody even really noticed. Nobody cared. They would just go to my content that was there from 3-4 days ago and keep it moving.
Right.
It was just like, duh, why am I doing this?
Yeah. I think just recently I've started talking. I think you asked the question, do I have a community of entrepreneurs here? Mm-hmm. And yes, there is a community of entrepreneurs here. But I realize when American entrepreneurs get together, it's like being back in America. And that's not necessarily what I would like to have around me. And so I make it a point that since I do live here, that if I'm gonna go hang out with entrepreneurs, I'm gonna go travel. Yeah. So I went to Puerto Rico for a summit. I'm going to San Diego it's funny, I spend more time flying around in the States now living here than I did when I was in the States. But I'm going to San Diego for another conference with Brendan Bouchard. But I'm learning that there is another way, right? Like I thought I needed to create every day. And so I'm learning the beauty of batching, and I'm learning how to like stockpile and, release it, on auto, and, all these other ideas that people with more established, who are more established than me, like these are the processes that they put in place so that they can still be present and be present.
Yep. I love it. On that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Black Women Leave America. We are here with Miss Natisha Willis, and she's just been giving us some phenomenal advice, particularly for you entrepreneurs. And I'm sure a lot of you all who are looking to travel are entrepreneurs as well, because we do have more freedom in our schedule. So I love you. You gave some really, really great advice. What I want to know is, you've been to Mexico. You said you've traveled around. Where are some of the other places that you've been, and what have you noticed in terms of the culture? Is it the same? Is it different?
So, funny thing, I think about me as a traveler, is that I've grown into a greater sense of who I am and what I like. And so living in Playa del Carmen, living in a beach town for all this time, like I feel like this is who I naturally am. Like I'm the beach town, the laid back chick, like this is me. And so when I go to a place, I'm going to a place and I'm being laid back beach town. Like I'm taking that with me.
I got you.
So I went to, where did I go? I went to Thailand, I went to Bali, Puerto Rico. I spent a little bit of time there, and I've just done a lot of trips. I spent 4 months in Asia last year. And then, like I said, I flew a lot between Mexico and the States. And so, what was the question? What's the culture like in these different places?
Yeah, but what's interesting, I like that you said that, is now that you've had that time to kind of explore who you are, and you realize like, this is who I am in my core authentically, I can take that wherever I go.
Yeah, so I don't do it. Like I was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and it's a city. Like KL is a city. I mean, concrete, big tall buildings, and I was just like, yeah, not impressed. Like this is not
like it's like Chicago.
Yo, like for real. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't really like man-made, current, technologically produced, like that doesn't faze me. I don't want to go see the KL towers. Like it's nice, but I would much rather go see the caves. Like I want to see stuff that's way, way, way older than me. I feel like there's, things that were built by indigenous people, or, things that are, that have some deeper meaning than, I want to be the tallest building in the world. Like, I get it, but that ain't really what I want. So,
yeah. So done with the superficial, materialistic, but really getting to like.
I mean, I try not to downplay.
To the heart of things.
I try not to downplay, because some people are like have a passion for architecture, and that's but that's just not
them.
Me.
That's them.
So I try not to call it. I'm not gonna call it superficial. I don't know what I try not to, because I recognize that in my like I said, I'm spending a lot more time here. And less time, more time with myself, right? I've also noticed how naturally judgmental that I was, and how I'm very, I feel like I'm a lot more intentional about the words I say. That's why I'm like, wait, nope, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. right? Because I also don't, in my growth, I want to make sure that I'm not making other people feel bad for what they like. So that's important.
What's interesting is like when I say superficial for me, I always think of things that are literally superficial for me, that they are not, that they don't speak to me.
Gotcha.
So I could say fashion is superficial, not because it's superficial, because some people live on fashion, but for me, it doesn't move me.
Gotcha.
You know, it's not important to me. There's no depth for me.
Gotcha.
And so it's, yeah, so, you know, it's, but what I love is that you are able to take the time to find that. We're here, we're sold that. So somebody could love fashion in the US and think it's the greatest thing, and then leave and then say, you know what, I don't even care about that. That was superficial because it wasn't me.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a different reality when we actually take that time and space to figure that out versus just being immersed in it and accepting that that is the status quo and therefore that has to be my reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I love that. So I'm gonna ask, but I don't even know why I asked this question anymore. Would you recommend that other Black women leave America?
I think that other Black women should follow their intuition. So if whatever you feel you're being called to do, you should 100% do that. From the first time that I took a trip abroad, 10 years ago, 2009, I went to Nigeria. I knew that I was leaving. I said, oh, there's a whole nother world out here. I need to figure out how to do this that does not involve, at that time, all I knew about was Peace Corps and teaching English. And I knew I didn't want to do either one of those. And so, I mean, it was a 10-year journey, 9-year journey on me finding another way to do it. You know, I thought it would be entrepreneurship. I thought I'd have a 6-figure business, right? That would take me and I would be able to, you know, leave the country, but that wasn't it. It was unemployment of all things. Like how far, how much further away from 6 figures can you get than unemployment?
Because you're like, I don't even need a 6-figure business to do this.
You know, the irony, like that's, you know, but that was all I heard of.
I love it.
But I think absolutely should visit, should travel, should expand your horizons. Like, do what you feel led to do. If you're listening to this podcast, obviously there's something in there that's telling you there's something more for you. So I think you should absolutely go after what you're being told to do in the depths of your soul.
And that's the piece, though. I want to make sure that we really highlight that, is that when we're in America, it is the money, the 6-figure, the 8-figure, the whatever that we feel is going to be.
Every year they're giving us a different figure.
Yep. And now, the multiple figures, don't forget about that. But now it's back to simpler times and the simpler things of no, what really makes you happy? And then to your point, what kind of person are you? Are you the beach girl? Are you the city girl? Are you the, you know, what kind of Black girl are you? Because it's not just one type. It's not one definition.
I mean, and you won't know. You know, that's I'm from Chicago, right? Like, we ain't no beach. I mean, you know, there's a beach, but yeah, the culture is different. So in a lot of ways, it's almost being comfortable with discomfort. Because there's no way for you to know who you are, right? Like who I was 2 years ago. You know, I broke my glasses, the dark teal glasses I had. I broke them while I was, actually the day that I was headed to Thailand, I broke them. And so the whole time I was in Thailand, I was gluing super glue. And when I came back to Mexico, I went to the States to America's Best, ordered the exact same glasses. And last month, the ocean in Puerto Rico took them bad boys, like them gone. And I realized those are my favorite glasses in 2017. Like, it's time to let them go. You done broke a pair. You done tried to replace the pair, got the same. Like, come on, yo, get it together. Right? So who you are, where you are right now, may not be who you are when you get to where you're supposed to be going. And so it's really being okay with the journey because you don't know how it's going to be. And, you know, You never know. You don't know what's waiting for you.
Yep. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so many of us, that's what we do. But again, it's about taking the time out, being mindful, and just allowing that process to unfold, because it doesn't necessarily happen the way we want it to happen, or when we think it's going to happen, how we think it's going to happen.
Yeah. And start small. I think that's one of the biggest things I wish I had realized that I was doing at the time, was leaving the country is a big step. Going to dinner by yourself, going to the movies by yourself, like just simply going like buying a Groupon in your city and going somewhere alone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are things you can do that don't require a passport and airfare, but require a same or similar level of facing your fears, being willing to be by yourself, being okay with being by yourself. Like, these are smaller things that you can do right now that don't require a whole lot.
I love that advice. I think that's great advice. And yeah, and it sounds like too, just being okay with getting outside of your comfort zone and not being comfortable. Yep. Because that happens when you leave. So yes, I love that. So if you're a person who, you know, you're like, oh, this sounds great, this sounds interesting, I would love to leave, but I don't know, I think she just gave you some great advice. Try these little things first and see how you feel. And that will determine your next steps.
Yep. And keep doing it. We were having a conversation the other day about how challenging, how hard it is to get out of your comfort zone when you are when you're surrounded by people. You've built a community around yourself of other people who don't want to get out their comfort zone, right? Mm-hmm. So the biggest, like the greatest thing, the greatest gift I feel like I gave myself on the path to leaving the country was attending cultural events. So jazz clubs, plays, like being in the presence of other people who are living in their passion and are exhibiting it, and they are like fully in their passion and in their gifts. Like, that rubs off.
Yeah.
It rubs off. Live music and stage plays, like all of these things where people are doing the things that they love. Like, yeah, spending more time around those people is important too.
Awesome.
Awesome. Everyone where they can find you, where they can find your coaching services, or just want to learn more about traveling abroad, going out there to Mexico where you are.
Yes, please. Well, I don't know. We full in Mexico. I'm more so on Instagram nowadays, so I'm making it a point this year to go on Instagram every day, at least in the story. So you can find me on Instagram at Coach Tish Travels or NatishaWillis.com. Both of those are great places to find me. I'm usually I'm there, and then, you know, I'm present and I'm present.
I love that. So if you have a story you want to share with us, you've left America, maybe you're thinking about it, go ahead and visit blackwomenleaveamerica.com and share your story with us, as well as make sure you get our wonderful merch and send us your pictures of traveling abroad. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're doing and how much this podcast is impacting you, or if it's made an impact at all. We definitely want to hear from you. So make sure you subscribe, share the podcast with everyone that you know, and we cannot wait to see you, hopefully outside of America. All right, peace.